Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to our fourth recorded class of the Materials Management course. Um, Today, we will start our discussion where we left off last time. So far, we covered the introduction and the first two learning objectives. Today, we will start with learning objective number 3. What is materials management? Materials management is the grouping of management functions supporting the complete cycle of material flow from the purchase and internal control of production materials to the planning and control of work in process to the warehousing, shipping, and distribution of the finished products. So, as we already explained before, any activity that contribute in any part or in any functions that will help the production process, that will guarantee that we will receive the required raw materials, component parts, supplies, tools, everything that we need to start our production, and then to start the conversion process to convert our raw materials into finished goods, and then transporting or sending these finished goods to our consumers through the different distribution channels. So all these activities and functions are called materials management. So we can say that materials management is a coordinating function responsible for planning and controlling materials flow. The two major or main objectives of materials management is to maximize the use of the firm's resources. This is mainly done through manufacturing planning and control, as we will explain in the following slides, and by providing the required level of customer service. And this one means that we should be able to provide the customer the right quality, quantity, at the right time and the place, and also at a fair or reasonable prices. So again, the two main objectives is to maximize the use of resources. This is visible through manufacturing planning and control, through eliminating waste at all from our system, and the second objective is to provide the required level of customer service. Materials management can do much also to improve a company's profit. So in the following slides, we will explain how and show some simple numerical examples to better understand this statement. This equation shows that there is inverse relationship between profits and manufacturing costs, because income equal revenues minus expenses. So once we how to say it, when costs rise, profits fall or decrease, and when costs fall, profits rise or increase. So companies can increase their income or their gross profits by either focusing on providing best customer service, and this means eventually increasing the number of units sold, or sometimes even increasing the company prices, but in a reasonable way, and this will end up increasing our revenues. The other option is to reduce manufacturing costs. That is to reduce the production costs, inventory investment, and distribution costs. Now let's think together. Is it more important or easier for a company to lower costs or to increase revenues? Which option is easier for us? The answer is it's better to cut costs than to increase revenues. But also keep in mind that this is dependable on the company and the industry in which it operates, because sometimes situation will make it different. So in low margin business, the impact of a modest reduction in costs is equivalent to a significant increase in sales volume. So a very, very tiny or modest, small reduction in the costs will have real big, significant increase in our income or our profits. While if we focus on reducing, not reducing our costs, on increasing our sales volume, this will have indirect relationship with the income or profit, because when we increase our sales, this means that we need to produce more products and we will need more production costs and distribution costs and extra. So yes, increasing revenues will eventually increase our income or gross profit, but in indirect way. As you all know from studying the cost accounting course, the cost of goods sold, which is part of the income statement for any manufacturing company, contains what? Contains direct labor, direct material, and overhead. Direct labor and direct material are costs that increase or decrease with the quantity sold. So it's not constant. Overhead, this is all other costs, doesn't vary directly with sales. And for simplicity, this section in the textbook assumes that overhead is constant, even though we will express it as a percentage of the sales in our next example. In this numerical example, we have revenues of 1 million US dollars. The direct materials costs equal 500,000 US dollars, which represent 50% of the $1 million sales. The direct labor equals 200,000 US dollars. This is 20% of the $1 million sales. Overhead is as well 2,000 US dollars. This is 20% of the $1 million sales. So the total cost equal 900,000, and this number represents 90% of the sales. So leaving only 100,000 as US dollars as a gross profit, which equal what? Equal 10% of sales. So now, if through a well-organized materials management department, through smart and effective and efficient management in the materials department, we were able to cut our direct materials or reduce direct materials by 10% and cut direct labor by 5%. the improvement in profit would be how much? Let's calculate that together. Here, direct material was 500,000 US dollars. If we reduce it by 10%, that is, we need to reduce $50,000, and this will leave us with $450,000, representing 45% of the $1 million sales. And for direct labor was 200,000 US dollars. If we reduce it by 5%, this means reducing $10,000 and having $190,000 remaining, which equals 90% of the sales. The overhead is constant, still 200,000, nothing changed. Accordingly, the total cost of goods sold is now equal to 840,000 instead of the 900,000 before the improvement. So the gross profit increased by 60%. We have now gross profit equal 160,000 US dollars instead of the 100,000 US dollars before improvement. And this is a clear illustration regarding the importance and the contribution of materials management toward the company profits. This is another example in your assigned textbook. You can find it in page 12, and it is solved example. So here is the example. They ask us to reduce the direct labor by 10%, and to make the cost manufacturing 60% of sales. So what I will do, I will let you guys solve this problem at home, try it, and in our next face-to-face class I will go through it again with you to make sure that you were able to solve every single step. It's very simple, and it is just based on our capability to master mathematical equations. So it's really easy, so try it next time. I will go over it in our face-to-face class. So let's review what we just explained. Materials management can reduce costs by being sure that the right materials are in the right place and at the right time, and the resources of the company are used properly or in a good way. So reducing costs contribute directly to profit, while increasing sales increase direct costs of labor and material, so profit doesn't increase directly. It will eventually increase, but not in a direct way and direct effect or significant effect like the one for cutting the materials costs and labor costs. Now let's move on to a new point and explain the different classification of the flow of material. There are several ways of classifying this flow of material, but a very useful classification, and the one used in this textbook, is manufacturing planning and control and physical supply and distribution. Manufacturing planning and control is responsible for the planning and control of the flow of materials through the manufacturing process. So here we are focusing on the activities that is going on inside the factory to enable the managers and the employees to transform the raw materials into its finished shape or finished goods. So again, there is responsible for the planning and control of the flow of material through the manufacturing process. The primary activities carried out are as follow: production planning, implementation and control, inventory management. In the next 3 slides, we will explain each one of these 3 activities in more details. Production planning. So here we need to produce. Production must be able also to meet the demand of the marketplace. So here we need to establish our correct priorities. And by priorities we mean what is needed and when, which model to produce, and during how many months or we are planning for the next whole year. So we need to make sure we know the quantities and the timing that of the products we need to produce. We also need to make certain that we have enough capacity to meet those priorities. So if we are planning to produce 1 million item of a certain product, we need to make sure that we have enough labor, enough equipment, enough space and facilities, enough capital, and so on. Otherwise, we won't be able to meet the market, the demand in the marketplace. So production planning involves forecasting, master planning, material requirements planning, capacity planning. And you may recall studying forecasting and capacity planning on the operation management course last year. This semester we will cover master production and materials requirements planning in the next 2 chapters. So just to remind you guys, through forecasting we can select the best technique for our operations and for our business, and through applying this technique we can figure out how many items to produce during a certain time in the future. We can use techniques varying from naive forecasting, averaging, moving averaging, exponential smoothing, or other kinds of regression and more complicated techniques. And through these techniques we can know, we can figure out how many items to produce. And for the capacity planning, if we discover that the demand for our product is increasing and we need to expand our capacity to be able to meet this increased level of demand, so we need to figure out whether we have enough capital to purchase or to build a new facility and to acquire a new equipment, or to hire new employees. And we need to put our plans to make sure that we meet this excessive or increased demand. We have other options, of course, like reducing our prices, so the level of demand will be reduced as well if we don't have enough capacity or capital to expand. Or if it is just a temporary increase in the demand, we can hire part-timer or use overtime with our current employees. So we have so many options, and I'm sure you're already familiar with all of them from your operations management course last year. So this is production planning. The second step or the second activity is implementation and control. And here we are focusing on putting our plans into action and achieving the plans we made in the production planning. So these responsibilities are accomplished through production activity control, sometimes we call it shop floor control, and through purchasing. So you now have plans to produce how many units and when, so you should start implementing it by selecting your suppliers and start to purchase your needed materials and push these materials to the production lines and in the production system, and then supervise the steps of the conversion process to make sure you will finish the required amount of products on times with the required quantity, quality, and um, uh, um, according to, I mean, your specifications or plans. So now with activity number 3, inventory management. And we know that inventories are materials and supplies that we carry on, either for sale or to provide material or supplies to the production process. So they are part of the planning process, and they provide mainly buffer against the differences in demand rates and production rates. So if we have sudden increase in the demand, we can use the finished items in the inventory and provide it to our customers. And also if we have sudden increase in the demand rates and we need to produce more, we can go to our inventory and find the raw materials we need to start to produce more units and to meet this increased demand. So it's a buffer against this variation between the demand rates and the production rates. Here we come to the end of today's recorded class. Thank you guys and have a good one.